wind howled across the empty expanse of a desolate Siberian mining town, its steel factories long silenced, the skeletal remains of cranes and conveyor, belts groaning under the weight of snow and rust. A biting cold swept through the air, relentless and uncaring. In the distance, a helicopter circled before descending onto a cleared patch of cracked concrete. From its doors stepped a man built like a war tank, Colossus, the mutant known as Pyotr Nikolaevich Rasputin. Summoned by an urgent message from an old comrade in the X-Men, Colossus had returned to the frozen landscape of his birth, unaware that another force was converging on this abandoned place. Thousands of miles away in the heart of Manhattan, Benjamin J. Grimm, better known as the Thing, was wrapping up a routine mission with the Fantastic Four. When Reed Richards approached him with a cryptic briefing, Ben almost shrugged it off until he heard the name of the challenge. Colossus, Reed had said. Pyotr Rasputin, mutant, metallic skin, strength and durability to rival yours. Yeah, sounds like my kind of guy. Ben cracked his knuckles with a grin. So what, we throw down, test who's tougher, and then go out for beers? It's not quite that simple, Reed said, his tone cautious. There's an anomaly in Siberia. Energy readings spiking, a mutant signature colliding with cosmic vibrations. We need to understand what's happening there. And if Colossus is already involved, I'd rather send someone he might respect, or at least not pulverize on sight. Ben chuckled. You had me at pulverize. As the Thing's fantastic car descended near the derelict mining site, the structure of an old metallurgy plant loomed like a sleeping titan. The wind kicked up ice and dust in swirls as Ben stepped out, his massive orange-rocked body unfazed by the sub-zero chill. He stomped forward, leaving deep footprints in the frozen earth. His sharp blue eyes scanned the terrain. No signs of battle, no explosion, no enemy, just cold silence, until he heard the metallic echo of footsteps. Colossus emerged from the shadows, shirtless despite the cold, his skin shimmering like polished steel under the wan Siberian sun. A soft mist rose from his breath as he eyed the intruder warily. Benjamin Grimm, Colossus said with his Russian accent, deep and even. You have come a long way. Yeah, well, I don't like to waste frequent flyer miles, Ben replied, folding his thick arms. I take it you're the big shiny guy causing all this fuss. Colossus nodded. I received a distress call from this region. Energy anomalies, radiation, I came to contain it. But then I felt something else. Pull, something old, something angry. The ground trembled softly beneath their feet. Not an earthquake, something deeper, like the earth groaning in discomfort. Whatever it is, Ben muttered, I get the feeling it's not here to make friends. They walked together toward the epicenter, an ancient shaft that led deep into the earth. Cracks ran through the stone around it, pulsing faintly with a red-orange glow. The temperature had begun to rise inexplicably, the frost melting into steam. A strange voice echoed faintly from the cavern below. Neither of them could understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Fury. Then came the tremor. The shaft erupted with a blinding blast of light, sending both titans flying back. Colossus rolled gracefully, coming to his feet. The Thing crashed against a mound of ice, dusting himself off. Okay, he grunted. Now it's a party. From the glowing shaft rose a pillar of molten energy, and within it, the vague shape of a being, shifting, undefined, held between realms. The air thickened with pressure as reality bent, warping the ground and sky alike. This anomaly, whatever it was, had grown stronger in response to their presence, as if it were feeding off their power. I have seen something like this before, Colossus said, eyes narrowing. Mutant kind knows of entities that exist in parallel dimensions, beings that hunger for our world. This one, it is waking. Ben cracked his knuckles. Well then, time to tuck it back in. No, Colossus replied. Not yet. If it is drawing strength from us, fighting it now may only strengthen it. We must weaken its tether. And how do we do that? Colossus looked Ben dead in the eyes. It draws from us. Our conflict, our duality. If we battle, truly battle, we may drain its source. Ben grinned slowly, realizing what Colossus meant. So you're telling me we throw down, see who's stronger, and save the world in the process? Duh. I like your style, comrade. Colossus stepped forward, fists clenched. We do this with honor, no hatred, but we do not hold back. Ben stepped into the circle, his rocky body casting a long shadow in the fading light. Pal, when have I ever held back? The anomaly pulsed brighter, as if it understood what was coming, its whispers rising into a giddy, unintelligible chant. The air vibrated with anticipation. Snow began to fall, as if the heavens were preparing to bear witness. Colossus raised his fists, his muscles coiled like braided iron cables. The thing widened his stance, hunched low, fists balled like sledgehammers ready to strike. The ground beneath them cracked from the pressure of their raw power alone. No crowd, no applause, just silence, and the promise of impact. This would not be a skirmish. This would not be a spar. This would be a test of essence. Stone versus steel, East versus West. X-Men versus Fantastic Four. Two titans of raw strength, forged in the fires of different worlds, standing now at the edge of one that threatened to collapse under their combined might. And somewhere in the void, that hungry force watched with rapt attention, ready to feed.
For a moment, time seemed to hold its breath. Snowflakes hung frozen in the air as the Thing and Colossus circled each other. Their eyes locked, not with malice, but with mutual respect. This wasn't a grudge match. It was a proving ground. Then, without warning, Colossus moved. He lunged forward with astonishing speed for someone his size, fists streaking through the air like silver hammers. The Thing ducked low, absorbing the first blow with his forearm. The shockwave cracked the ground beneath him, but Ben Grimm grunted and countered with a brutal uppercut that caught Colossus on the jaw. The Russian staggered but didn't fall. He responded with a two-handed hammer strike to the Thing's shoulder, sending him crashing into a snowbank with the force of a wrecking ball. Trees splintered in the distance from the shockwave. Ben stood brushing off snow and shaking his head. "That all you got, Tin Man? I've taken hits from the Hulk that rattled my molars harder than that." Colossus narrowed his glowing eyes. "Then you will need to be reminded what Russian steel feels like." They charged again, fists colliding in the air with a thunderous boom that echoed across the frozen plains. Ice shattered, and old metal buildings nearby collapsed under the pressure. The force of their brawl was beginning to tear the very earth apart. Minutes turned into a blur of seismic punches, bone-jarring slams, and ground-level quakes. Colossus lifted a slab of industrial debris and hurled it like a discus. The Thing smashed through it mid-air with a single punch. Shards flying in every direction, Ben leaped forward, catching Colossus in a powerful shoulder slam that sent both of them crashing through a long-abandoned crane. Steel groaned and twisted around them as they wrestled amidst the wreckage. Colossus locked his arms around Ben's midsection, lifting him in a bear hug and squeezing with enough pressure to pulverize a tank. But the Thing didn't break. He roared, slamming his rocky forehead into Colossus's face with a crack that echoed like thunder. Blood, real red blood, splashed from Colossus's nose, a rare sight on his metallic skin. Colossus stepped back, stunned. "You are tougher than they said." Ben cracked his neck, fists up again. "Buddy, I'm the ever-lovin', blue-eyed Thing, and it's clobberin' time." With a roar, he delivered a right hook that sent Colossus flying through 3 layers of concrete wall. The mutant tumbled into the snow, rolling until he slammed against a rusted silo. For a moment, he didn't rise. The anomaly in the shaft behind them pulsed furiously, flickering between red and gold. It had grown unstable, fed to the brink by their battle. Colossus stood once more, staggering, silver skin cracked in places. He took a deep breath and charged, fists drawn back for one last attack. The Thing waited unflinching like a boulder daring the storm. Colossus swung, a mighty punch that could have leveled a mountain, but Ben ducked. The Thing shifted inside the strike, turning his body and launching a brutal haymaker directly into Colossus's torso. The impact created a shockwave that launched snow in all directions and caused a full rupture in the anomaly behind them. Colossus flew back, his metallic skin flaring as the air rippled with the backlash. He hit the ground hard and didn't get up. He groaned, trying to lift himself, but his arm gave out beneath him. The Thing approached, breathing heavily. His body chipped and bruised but unbroken. He extended a hand, not to strike but to offer help. Colossus looked up, blinking against the snow, and then he smiled. "I yield," he said quietly. "You are stronger, Benjamin Grimm." Ben helped him up. "Nah, just got lucky with the timing." They both turned toward the anomaly, now shrinking. Its energy fading, the pulse subsiding. "Looks like it's closing," Ben muttered. Colossus nodded. It fed off our struggle. Now that it has reached its peak, it cannot sustain itself. The glowing rift hissed and vanished in a flash, leaving only a crater in the snow. The two warriors stood side by side in silence, steam rising from their bodies in the cold air. "That was a good fight," Colossus said, smiling. "Damn right," Ben replied. "We ought to do it again sometime, without the world-ending part." They nodded, warriors bonded not by rivalry, but by shared respect. As the helicopter returned to pick up Colossus, and the Fantasticar descended to collect the thing, the last light of day broke through the clouds, and somewhere deep in the multiverse, the echoes of their battle would be remembered, stone and steel, forged in purpose and tested in fire.